It is the night of June 8, 2015, Chester, England. A neonatal ward. A premature baby boy, 6 weeks early, fighting for every breath. His name, to protect his family, will only ever be known as Child A. Within 90 minutes of the night shift starting, he is dead. The nurse on duty is 25 years old. She volunteers for extra shifts. She takes salsa dancing classes on weekends. By every account, she is ordinary. Her name is Lucy Letby. Within 8 years, she will be handed 15 whole-life prison sentences. No parole, ever. Britain will call her the most prolific child killer in modern history. 2 juries will agree. The courts will stand firm. And yet, right now, in 2026, 14 international medical experts, a member of parliament, and a criminally suppressed statistical warning are raising a question that will not go away. Did the jury hear every piece of evidence? Everything you are about to hear comes from documented court records, parliamentary debates, and verified public evidence. This video does not tell you Lucy Letby is innocent. It does not tell you she is guilty. What it tells you is what the evidence actually shows, and why serious credentialed people believe this case is not over. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to 2012. That is when Lucy Letby began working as a registered nurse in the neonatal unit of the Countess of Chester Hospital in northwest England. She graduated from the University of Chester in 2011. By all accounts, she was committed to her work. The unit she joined was already under pressure. The Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, the UK's most authoritative body on children's medicine, would later confirm that the neonatal ward had significant gaps in staffing. It was under-resourced for the level of care it was providing. Senior cover was insufficient. That was documented. That was real. Then, in June 2015, the death rate spiked. The unit normally recorded 2 to 3 infant deaths per year. In 2015 alone, 8 babies died. In the first 6 months of 2016, 5 more followed. Lead neonatologist Dr. Stephen Brary noticed that Letby appeared on shift during several incidents. He raised concerns with hospital management, repeatedly. Management did not act. According to reports from the subsequent Thirlwall inquiry, the hospital hesitated out of concern for its reputation and potential legal liability. It wasn't until May 2017, a full 2 years after the first concerns were raised, that the Countess of Chester Hospital called Cheshire Police. Operation Hummingbird began, and with it, the search for an explanation. The police investigation lasted over 3 years. Lucy Letby was arrested 3 times, in 2018, 2019, and finally in November 2020, when she was charged and remanded in custody. The prosecution built its case on 4 pillars. It is important to understand each one clearly, because to understand what came after, you first have to understand why 2 juries found them convincing. Pillar 1, the shift chart. Prosecutors presented a chart showing Letby was present during every collapsed infant incident over the relevant period. To them, the pattern was undeniable. Pillar 2, the medical evidence. 2 abnormal blood test results, elevated insulin levels in 2 infants, which prosecution experts argued could only be explained by deliberate injection. No natural cause, they said, could account for the readings. Pillar 3, the handwritten notes. Found at Letby's home were pages of distressed personal writing, including the phrase, in her own hand, "I am evil, I did this." To the prosecution, these were admissions of guilt. Pillar 4, expert medical testimony. Multiple clinical experts testified that the babies had been deliberately harmed, injected with air, poisoned with insulin, suffocated. Each death, they argued, bore the hallmarks of intentional act. The trial lasted 8 months. In August 2023, a jury convicted her of 7 murders and 6 attempted murders. A retrial in July 2024 added a 15th whole life sentence. The tabloids exploded. The public had its answer. But the defense says the jury was never given the full picture. Since the conviction, credentialed critics have challenged every single one of those four pillars, directly and specifically. On the shift chart, critics argue it may demonstrate only where Letby was present, not whether her presence caused the deaths. This is what statisticians call confirmation bias, and a related error known as the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where a pattern is identified after the fact and treated as evidence of cause. According to parliamentary debate, Cheshire Police hired Professor Jane Hutton, one of Britain's most respected medical statisticians, in April 2018 to review exactly this chart. She warned them their statistical approach was fundamentally flawed. According to debate at Westminster on March 26, 2026, the police response was to tell her that the prosecutor has instructed us not to pursue this avenue any further. That warning was never shared with the defense. It was never heard by the jury. On the medical evidence. In February 2025, an international panel of 14 clinicians from 6 countries reviewed the medical records from every case in the conviction. Their conclusion, stated publicly, was that the deaths and injuries were attributable to natural causes or to failures in the standard of hospital care, not to deliberate harm. On the expert testimony, here is the moment that many legal observers consider the documentary's most striking detail. The prosecution's own lead expert had cited a 1989 research paper to argue that Letby had injected air into infants' bloodstreams. The author of that paper, Dr. Shu Lee, a retired neonatologist from the University of Toronto, chaired the International Review Panel. Dr. Lee says his paper was misapplied. He says the prosecution got the science wrong. The research used to convict her was, according to its own author, used incorrectly. On the handwritten notes, the defense raises a question that forensic psychologists have addressed in similar cases. Was the phrase, "I am evil, I did this," a confession? Or was it the writing of someone experiencing overwhelming stress, guilt, and moral injury after working through a period of unexplained infant deaths in an understaffed ward? No forensic conclusion has been formally reached on this. The defense argues it is one possible interpretation, not a proven admission. Running alongside the questions about the conviction is a separate and important development: the investigation into the hospital itself. The British government launched an independent statutory inquiry, chaired by Lady Justice Thirlwall, specifically to examine how hospital management responded, or failed to respond, to the cluster of deaths. 3 former senior members of the Countess of Chester's leadership team were arrested in July 2025 on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. One was arrested again in April 2026, this time on suspicion of perverting the course of justice. It is important to be precise here. These are separate investigations. The question of whether hospital management failed in their duties does not automatically determine Lucy Letby's guilt or innocence. Both things can be examined independently. A failing institution and a wrongful conviction are not mutually exclusive, but neither does one prove the other. What the management investigation does establish is that serious institutional failures occurred. That is documented. That is agreed. A member of Parliament, David Davis, stated in the House of Commons that the statistical errors in this case are, according to Professor Hutton herself, similar to those in the Sally Clark case, but worse. Sally Clark was a British mother wrongly convicted of murdering her 2 infant sons. She was cleared in 2003. She died 4 years later. The Criminal Cases Review Commission is now actively reviewing Lucy Letby's case. The CCRC is the independent body that investigates potential miscarriages of justice in England and Wales. If it finds grounds to refer the case, it goes to a court of appeal. A retrial becomes possible. The Thirlwall inquiry into hospital management has faced calls to pause its work, because if the conviction were found to be unsafe, its entire premise would need reassessment. As of April 2026, Lady Justice Thirlwall confirmed the report is still being completed with no confirmed publication date. History offers a precedent worth considering. The Netherlands convicted nurse Lucia de Burke in 2003 of murdering 7 patients on the basis of a statistical cluster almost identical in structure to the one used against Letby. In 2010, she was fully acquitted. The cluster had been caused by natural medical events. The statistical reasoning had been catastrophically wrong. Here is where things stand. Based on verified public evidence, 2 juries heard the prosecution's case and convicted. That is a legal fact. Lucy Letby's conviction stands today. The CCRC has not yet ruled. No court has overturned the verdict. At the same time, critics argue the shift chart was statistically flawed, and that the flaw was not put before the jury. The author of the key prosecution research paper says it was misapplied. 14 international specialists found no medical evidence of deliberate harm in any of the cases. 3 former hospital executives have been arrested on criminal charges, and parliamentary debate has placed on the public record a statistical warning that, according to a respected statistician, was not pursued when it should have been. The case that everyone thought was settled is right now being formally reviewed. So we ask you directly, do these developments strengthen your confidence in the conviction? Or do they make you believe this case deserves a fresh review? Tell us why in the comments below. To be clear on the legal position, the convictions currently stand. Any change to the verdict can only be made through the courts. The Criminal Cases Review Commission is the body that decides whether this case reaches that stage. Let us know in the comments what you think. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching.